Okay, everyone, let's get started. Now, if you ever plan on actually running a business, you're going to want to listen up. This isn't just another dry microeconomics lecture, This is your playbook for the future. We are going to build a manager's toolkit for dealing with one of the most powerful forces you'll ever come up against, the government. So, forget the abstract theory for a bit. Today is all about the real-world stuff, the incentives, the constraints that will literally make or break your company. Let's dive in.
So, let's just jump right into a case study. I want you to imagine you're the manager of an eco-tourism company. You're doing everything right. You're preserving a beautiful coral reef, you're creating good local jobs. You are the textbook definition of a responsible business. But then you look at your profit and loss statement, and the numbers just aren't working. It's a struggle. Now, this isn't a business failure, it's a market failure. And this is the problem we're going to break down today. That frustrating gap between creating value for everyone and actually capturing some of that value for yourself. So here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down the core problem, what I'm calling the eco-manager's dilemma. Then, we'll look at the two main tools governments pull out of their toolkit, the carrot, which is subsidies, and the stick, which is regulations. And then, and this is the most important part for your careers, we're going to pull it all together into a strategic takeaway so you can see how to turn these government actions from a headache into a real competitive advantage. Okay, so let's really frame this central issue, and I want you to get this. While our example is about ecotourism, the principle behind it is everywhere. You'll see this in software, in public health, you name it. At its heart, it's the fundamental business challenge of unpaid value.
Right, so the textbook term for this is a positive externality, but let's make that real. You're running that dive shop in Tanjung Lesung. Because you're taking care of the reef, the local fishermen have better catches, the hotels nearby are worth more, and you're preserving this amazing natural wonder for everybody. All great things, right? But here's the problem from your desk as a manager. You can't send a bill to the fishermen, you can't invoice the hotel owner, and you certainly can't charge future generations. All that incredible value you're creating is completely external to your business.
So think about what happens next. Because you, the manager, can't actually make money from all the good you're doing, you're actually discouraged from doing the optimal amount of it. From a cold, hard financial point of view, it's just more profitable to cut a few corners than to go all out for the social good. And this is the critical point. The free market, when you just leave it alone, will always underproduce things that have these positive externalities. And that market failure is the entire reason governments feel they need to step in.
All right, so let's move on to the first tool the government uses, the carrot. We're talking about incentives here. The goal isn't to force you to do something, it's to nudge you, to change your own cost-benefit math so that the right thing for society also becomes the right thing for your bottom line. So, a subsidy is basically a negative tax. Simple as that. Instead of the government taking money from you, it gives you money, or some kind of financial break to bring your operating costs down. And the goal is pretty straightforward. Make the socially good choice also the most profitable choice for you. It's the government's attempt to close that gap we were just talking about between the public value and the private profit. Okay, so let's walk through how this actually works on the ground. Step 1. The government gives you a grant, let's say for coral restoration. For you, the manager, that directly lowers the cost of running your operation. In economic terms, this literally shifts your supply curve to the right. So what does that mean for your strategy? Well, now you've got options. You could pass on the savings to your customers by lowering prices, which should get you more business. Or you could keep your prices the same and reinvest that bigger profit margin into making your tours even better. Either way, the total amount of sustainable ecotourism goes up, and that's exactly what the policy was designed to do. Now look at these specific examples. As a manager, you can't just see free money. Your job is to figure out the real return on investment for each one. A grant for restoring the reef? Sounds great. But what's the administrative burden? How many hours is your team going to spend on paperwork? Funding to train local guides? That's awesome for your brand. But what's the opportunity cost? What could you be doing with that time instead? And look at that third one, a subsidy for beach vendors. You don't get that money directly, but hey, a cleaner beach might mean more customers for you. Your job is never just to take the money, it's to run the numbers on every single one of these government carrots.
But, sometimes incentives just aren't enough. And that's when the government brings out its other tool, the stick. This is the world of direct command and control regulations.
Now the key difference here is how it works. A subsidy tries to influence your choices through the market. A regulation just overrides the market. It's a hard rule. It's not a suggestion. It tells you what you must do or what you cannot do, period. Economists call them blunt instruments because they just apply to everyone, no matter how different your businesses are. And for you as a manager, this requires a totally different mindset. You're not thinking about incentives anymore, you're thinking about compliance.
Let's break these down. A visitor cap? That directly limits how much money you can make in a day. You can't just sell more dive trips, you have to figure out how to make each trip more valuable. A technology standard, like forcing you to use mooring buoys, that's a forced expense. You have to buy them. A ban on single-use plastics? Well, now you have to completely rethink your supply chain. And zoning? That could make your best dive spot suddenly off-limits, forcing you to find new places to take your customers. Every single one of these requires a direct, strategic response from you.
So let's just put them side by side. It makes the difference crystal clear. The carrot incentivizes. The stick mandates. The carrot uses the market. The stick uses the law. And this, right here, is the absolute bottom line for you as a manager. Subsidies are designed to lower your costs. Regulations, at least in the short term, almost always increase your costs. One is an opportunity you chase. The other is a constraint you have to manage.
And that brings us to the most important part of this whole discussion. Because look, theory is useless if you can't use it. So how do you take all this and turn it into a winning business strategy? Let's build your management playbook.
I want you to really focus on this table. This is where we go from just describing what's happening to prescribing what you should do. A subsidy, that's a straightforward opportunity for growth. You can use it to undercut your competitors on price, or you can reinvest it in quality to build your brand. A regulation, though, that's trickier. The average manager is just going to see a new cost on their spreadsheet, but a strategic manager sees a chance to innovate. If everyone has to install those expensive mooring buoys, can you be the first one to market yourself as 100% anchor-free and reef-safe? Can you actually use that new cost to justify a higher price?
And this is it. This is the one thing I really want you to take away today. Do not be a passive manager who just reacts when the government does something. Be an active strategist. When you see a new subsidy, don't just see a handout. See it as a weapon to go win market share. When you see a new regulation, don't just see it as a burden. See it as a way to make your brand stand out and build a moat around your business. Your competitors are going to be the ones complaining about the cost of compliance. You're going to be the one building a competitive advantage from it.
So I'll leave you with this final question to think about. What really makes a business innovate? Is it the pull of a subsidy, the carrot that gives you the cash to try something new? Or is it the push of a regulation, the stick that forces you to come up with a clever solution inside a box of constraints? The answer to that is going to define the kind of leader you become. Class dismissed.